So the next talk will be by Dr. Neeraj Raite, who is a bariatric surgeon and empaneled at Jalaram Diabetes Institute. And he will be talking on interventional options for weight loss. So Dr. Neeraj Raite is a laparoscopic GI and bariatric surgeon. As I said, is empaneled with Jalaram Diabetes Institute. After completing his medical education in India, Dr. Raite completed his advanced training as a fellow at Department of GI and Oncosurgery at Athens Medical Center in Greece. And he has a special interest in robotic and laparoscopic GI and bariatric surgery. He has also co-authored books on minimally invasive surgery in gynecological oncology and esophageal cancer, and has contributed technical papers to several reputed journals. He has conducted several live surgical workshops to demonstrate technically demanding procedure, which were broadcast live to international audience in US, Italy, Turkey, and Singapore. So over to you, Dr. Neeraj sir, for interventional option for weight loss.
Thank you, Dr. Ashutosh. Thank you, team Jalaram, for organizing this beautiful conference and sharing knowledge on science of weight loss. As it was rightly said by all the faculties, probably when we will visit history, we will realize that the world has been divided into two important eras, the pre-COVID era and post-COVID era. What has changed in respect to weight loss or obesity is that in the post-COVID era, there has been a polarization in the weight. So there are few who have worked a lot in this time and have managed to lose weight, while there are others who have been not able to give justice to themselves for whatever reasons and have gained weight significantly, leading to this dramatic shift. So I don't want to clutter my presentation with images of before and after. Rather, I would love to share the philosophy the way Dr. Mallar shared insights. And I'm sure these insights and philosophies will give all of you here an idea that how comprehensively the team at Jalaram Diabetes Hospital is working from all angles of diet, exercise, medical management, endocrine management, and when none of them work, from the options of interventional therapy. So we all have experience when we talk to our patients, and this is the usual patient story when they become obese. They come to us, they listen whatever we try and tell them, and their expectation is all shouldered on us, expecting us to work more for them than they working themselves more on their weight. And probably here we will have to begin our making things straight to them and giving them perceptions that it is no longer about kgs, but it is all about the persona which they will take and carry forward. It is a usual story. They have gone to every possible person who has advertised a pill in the newspaper, a machine in the advertisement or an advertorial, or a powder which is sold at multi-level marketing. And despite all those efforts, they are directionless and land up with us expecting that we will give them result. And the journey begins with giving them insight that it is not the people with them, but the person within who is really going to bring the change in them. There are some important concerns which I would like to highlight. A typical weight loss in diet and lifestyle programs for severe obesity has been observed only in the range of 1 to 3 kilogram per meter square, in comparison to 13.5 kilogram per meter square after interventional procedures. The bigger challenge is keeping them engaged because the attrition rates are high when diet and lifestyle programs make them work but don't focus on compliance. And even when these, despite being these therapies successful, a lot of them drop after expected weight loss and bounce back, which is a usual experience of all of us. The other thing is patients who are extremely obese, having a BMI more than 35 per kg per meter square, in contrast to those who are class 1 obesity, having a BMI in the range of 30 to 35 kilogram per meter square, have not been able to either reduce, or even if they reduce, maintain their BMI with only lifestyle modifications. Well, you may find my statements little contradictory at the end, but what I am trying to emphasize here is that no one therapy can be a full shot solution, but it is the combination of all of them working together for a common goal, which is not only focused on kgs, but overall physical well-being of a patient is something which is going to matter. Thus, it has been observed in multiple meta-analyses that the success rate of 120 centers in the world specialized in outpatient obesity care in treating patients for obesity, only 7% of them could hold their patients after the period of 24 months. The biggest challenge we as clinicians face is a syndrome of what if. We all feel that what will happen to our patients if we enlighten them about the options of interventional weight loss measures. We all feel that will our patients comply? And I think as a surgeon, what we expect from family physicians or the physicians is to just give them an insight and let them do their own research and analysis before they can take their call. Here is a question for everybody. How would we manage this patient who is a 40-year-old male having a 40 BMI, non-diabetic hypertensive, but not responding satisfactorily to any measures of medical and lifestyle management? Now, this is a catch-20 situation where if we can enlighten them about the option of interventional weight loss, an appropriate decision for their appropriate body mass index and physiology can help them to have good quality of life in the longer run. So the recent trend in bariatric surgery has changed from focusing only on treating excess weight to better treating overall metabolic syndrome. And that's how we believe that it is never the surgery only which is necessary, but there is a role of comprehensive team like we have, which can help our patients effectively. There is a debate about which surgery can be appropriate to our patient, and you can't just do one type of surgery like sleeve gastrectomy, which is a predominantly restrictive surgery, or a bypass, which is a predominantly malabsorptive surgery. But our focus in caring our patients should be constructive and appropriate for their physiology and their pathology. The other debate, which is taking a big time now in the field of surgical intervention, is reversible procedures versus non-reversible procedures. The major shift which has happened in the care of obese patients is acceptance by the insurance companies of their care for an option of bariatric surgery, which now gives a validation that yes, this option is also effective and is accepted by the agencies or the institutions which are helping in care delivery. We as surgeons have now realized and have accepted the necessity of continuous diet, exercise, and lifestyle modification despite the patient undergoing bariatric surgery. And you must have heard through every clinician here that the emphasis has been always on diet, exercise, and lifestyle modification. So thus we all know now that when other treatments for severe obesity are unsuccessful, it is prudent that we consider use of interventional weight loss measures like bariatric surgery within the context of existing guidance. And here I will share the few established options which have been in practice for last more than 10 years, which have been offered to patients and have been chosen on case-to-case basis. So we all accept that when non-surgical measures do not work, we will have to ultimately offer our patients interventional options. But what should be the choice? These days, there are some patients who come to us thanks to media management with solutions which they have chosen for themselves. They will come, they will read somewhere that there is a pill which can be taken and that can help in weight loss. They have seen their nearbys who have undergone a surgery like sleeve will come and tell us that I need to undergo a sleeve. But although these are the kind of choices which patients come and propose us, I strongly believe that between balloon, sleeve, gastric bypass, and one anastomosis gastric bypass, individualization is the key to success. One size will not fit everyone. So here I would love to quote the quote which has been taught to me by the masters of bariatric surgery with whom I worked with their fellowship. And they always used to say that you should consider a choice which will help our patient only once, and let that choice should be the last choice for our patients than they undergoing multiple attempts and failing and losing the trust on the care delivery. So let us try and understand what is an endoscopic gastric balloon. This is a procedure where a gastroscopy puts an inflatable silicone balloon inside the stomach, and this balloon is filled under general anesthesia to a capacity of around 300 to 500 ml. This is a purely daycare procedure and patient can go home on the same day after the procedure. And the biggest advantage is that it's a reversible procedure. The balloon needs to be removed 6 months down the line to 1 year down the line. And then again, the role of diet and exercise will come into play. This is a kind of picture the balloon looks like inside the stomach, and this is done endoscopically. The realistic outcome expectations, as we mentioned in our panel discussion, has to be briefed to the patient in clear language, where the weight loss is in the range of 15 to 20 kgs at the end of 6 months. But the key here is commitment and motivation of the patient for diet and lifestyle modification, which is also used along with this balloon. And that is why these patients need close and regular follow-up and counseling. The common side effects are usually in the immediate after the insertion of balloon in the type of nausea and spasmodic abdominal cramps, which usually resolve as the stomach adapts to this foreign body inside the stomach for temporary period. Sleeve gastrectomy, we all know, is an established modality, so I don't want to go into the details of what is sleeve and how it works. The important limitation of sleeve gastrectomy is it's an irreversible procedure. So the indications for sleeve gastrectomy these days have become a little limited. Usually it is performed in elderly patients and highly comorbid patients, where we have to be quick in, quick out, so that the anesthesia time for the patient is reduced. The contraindications for the sleeve gastrectomy is the presence of hiatus hernia or gastroesophageal reflux disease, and that is why role of preoperative endoscopy plays an immense role while choosing a sleeve for our patients. Gastric bypass are of two variants. One is a Roux-en-Y gastric bypass, where there are two anastomoses, one at the site of gastroesophageal junction, and the second is at the lower part, which is a jejunostomy. This basically bypasses the proximal part of the jejunum and gives a strong metabolic effect. The advantage is it's a reversible procedure. Indications are the patients who are in the metabolic syndrome, and the contraindications are cirrhotic patients or smoker patients, because this is a strongly malabsorptive procedure. The other challenge we faced after the patients undergoing a Roux-en-Y gastric bypass was they used to say that, sir, पोट भरतं पण मन भरत नाही. Since the pouch size is 30 to 50 ml, many a times patient does not get psychological satiety, although their abdomen is full. And that's where this new surgery is in vogue, has been now quite routinely performed in Indian subcontinent, and it's called as one anastomosis or a mini gastric bypass, where there is only one anastomosis between the pouch of a sleeved stomach and the proximal jejunum. We have found very good results with this surgery, especially in Indian subset of patients, because Indians predominantly are volume eaters. It also can be made a strongly malabsorptive procedure in super obese patients and can give good results in them. Again, the contraindications remain the same for any bypass because these are malabsorptive procedures. Smokers and cirrhotic patients cannot be offered this surgical option. So to summarize, bigger trend of gain in weight is going to be here to stay, and considering bariatric surgery will have to be accepted as one of the treatment option. Only probably lasting trend will be adoption from a single modality to a multi-modality based on case-to-case basis, which suits and is appropriate for our patients. One of the question was asked about embolization of the vessel, which is called as a BEAT trial, bariatric embolization of artery for treatment of obesity. There was a recently published systemic review and meta-analysis where they mentioned that left gastric artery embolization was associated with statistically significant weight loss and limited complications during short-term follow-up. Now, this is what is the usual story of lot of doctors, or for that matter, lot of patients who Google a particular thing. And the issue is that we tend to take only things which suit or are convenient to us. In the later half of this study, it has been also mentioned that LGA embolization is still an investigative method. Thus, friends, it is my earnest request to anybody and everybody who is in care of weight loss and obesity that let's not make a generalization saying that so and so treatment can be administered easily without complications, inducing an appreciable weight loss with statistically significant reduction in BMI and an improved in associated comorbidities. We will have to be case specific. What looks evil can be good if it is looked upon with a positive mindset and a team approach. When I started working in the field of bariatric surgery, physicians and surgeons used to be in a mode of having a fight amongst each other. And I'm happy that we are shifting our mode from fighting amongst each other to collaboration and working together for the betterment of our patient and helping them to have a better quality of life. Thank you so much for your patient listening.